Morning. For the record, my name is Erin Murphy, at-large City Councilor, and I am the Chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Strong Women, Families, and Communities. Today is November 21st, 2024. This hearing is being recorded. It is also being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-tv and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, and FiOS Channel 964. Written comments may be sent to the committee email at ccc.swfc@boston.gov and will be made part of the record and available to all councilors. Public testimony will be taken at the end of this hearing. Individuals will be called on in the order of which they signed up and will have 2 minutes to testify. If you are interested in testifying in person, please add your name to the sign-up sheet near the door at the entrance of the chamber. If you are looking to testify virtually, please email Central Staff Liaison Cora Montron at cora.montrond@boston.gov for the link, and your name will be added to the list. Today's hearing is on Docket 1628, order for a hearing to address the final repairs for the pool at the Condon Community Center and school to reopen. This matter was sponsored by myself and Councilor Flynn and was referred to the committee on October 30th, 2024. Today, I am joined by the chair sponsor, the co-sponsor, Councilor Flynn, and the Condon pool, as you know, is also in his district. So I will just start. Thank you for being here. I did hear that the mayor and lots of department heads have a retreat today. We did have a nice long list of panelists that we were hoping would attend, just to make sure that we do get the questions that we have answered. At the end of the day, what I want is to make sure that all of our pools, right? We have 18 pools, are always up and running. Several hearings that I've sponsored since I've been here on the council have been to address the facility issues, but there's also been staffing lifeguard issues. I know we've done a great job where we don't seem to have as many pools that stay closed due to staffing. And I know in this case, there are lifeguards ready to go, but we just need to finish repairs, and hoping that by the end of this conversation, this hearing, that we can have some answers, because I got a call from a principal actually at a different school who had reached out and said she was with the principal at the Condon, that she had heard, that the pool was closed, that there was no, and as we know, and I know Councilor Flynn will address this also, that these pools don't just service our students at the schools during the day, but the community, the neighborhood, and the programming. So they weren't able to have, swimming lessons for the fall. They're not going to have swimming lessons for the winter. So any way we can make sure that the Condon is prioritized to be open. There are other pools, and I will go through after you share the information. I know we came here to share with us, but to see where we are on our other pools, because other colleagues were obviously, especially district councilors, checking in on their pools in their district. But as the chair of this committee and as an at-large city councilor, obviously, I want to make sure that we're on track. And anytime, sometimes we as councilors advocate for issues that we just, bring up on our own, but oftentimes it's the communities reaching out. So the community definitely is feeling as though, they need to be prioritized. And if you could also, when you share your information, because I know the Condon pool has gone through lots of renovations, the community center also, so if we could also have a timeline over the last few years of when the pool has been closed or open, because it seems like it may have been open, not consistently open over the last few years. So that being said, I will pass it over to my co-sponsor for opening statements, and then we'll get right into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for chairing this important meeting, this important hearing today. Thank you to Eamon, and thank you to Brian for being here as well. Thank you for the work you're doing across the city. The pool at the Condon Community Center and School is in my district. In fact, it's right down the street from where I live. I live off of D Street on F Street. We know that this pool has gone through extensive renovations, including the installation of a new liner. But despite the upgrades, the pool remains closed. It is my understanding that the final repair needed to reopen the pool is the replacement of a pump, which will cost an additional $40,000. Maybe there's additional information that you could provide us on that. The Boston Public School Facilities Department has communicated that they have exhausted their budget and will not be able to complete this final repair at this time. Again, the pool remains closed. This situation has limited our community's access to a vital resource. The Condon Community Center plays a critical role in providing swim lessons in the fall and winter, ensuring that children can swim safely during the summer months. Additionally, this pool is located in the middle of a public housing development. West Broadway development may be the most diverse development in the city of Boston. It's also down the road from Ann Lynch Homes as well, in Mary Ellen McCormick. This pool, again, is in the middle of the public housing developments, and kids, an issue that I've worked on for 7 years is ensuring all kids across Boston have access to a swimming pool so that they can learn how to swim. Especially kids of color, I think, is very important. And this program, this pool provides that. We should be able to open up this pool so that kids across South Boston, but especially kids across Boston Housing Authority, have the ability to use a pool and swim and to learn to swim. Kids that have access to swimming lessons, they can go to a private place for swimming lessons. Their parents have the ability to do that. But kids in public housing, kids of color rely on BCYF to learn how to swim. That's why this issue is so important, and it's personal to me. I want to make sure that we do everything we can, take the appropriate steps necessary to open this pool as soon as possible. I'm willing to work with both Brian and Eamon to get this done, but I don't think we can accept no for an answer. I certainly can't accept no for an answer when it comes to my constituents in their quality of life and their safety as well. So looking forward to working with you and looking forward to hearing your testimony as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn. So just to put on the record, we are joined by Brian Ford, Director of Operations from Boston Public Schools, and Eamon Shelton, the Commissioner of Property Management. So if you could share an update and whatever you came prepared to talk about, I'd appreciate that, and then we'll follow up with questions. Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Thank you for having me this morning. My name is Brian Ford, for record, Chief of Operations for BPS. So I just want to acknowledge the Condon pool. We have done a lot of work to understand where our pools are currently in the district. Over the last 18 months, we've understood that a lot of our pools are getting towards the end of their remaining useful life. It took BPS a little time to understand the exact quality of work that we needed to do in order to make this work happen and move forward. We were able to put forth a lot of resources into the existing condition of our pools, both at the Condon and across the district. What we've outlined is that there's still a little bit more work that needs to be done and a lot more work across the district that needs to be completed. What we've done over the past couple of weeks and months, and with partnership from other city agencies as well, including Commissioner Shelton's, is we've been able to put together a maintenance contract. And we are expecting that this maintenance contract for the Condon pool to cover a lot of the chlorine filters, chlorinators, and some of the broken gutters and at this pool and others is something that we can put in progress now. We've identified funding, and we should be able to start moving this forward. We're hoping that this will be within the next 2 to 3 months. This will all be based upon our procurement timelines and procurement law, making sure we're able to get these things in place. And with that, I'll pass it over to Commissioner Shelton.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me here. Councilor Murphy, I'm not sure if I was on your original invite list, but
You were not. There were
so
about 10. You didn't make the
I didn't
original
make
list.
the cut, so sorry to disappoint you. But
No, I'm happy you're here. And I think it would be important to, and Brian, if you could address also, how there seems to be, some people call it like a broken relationship, not a good marriage, but the community, what's the correct word here? But the relationship between our city budget, our school budget, BCYF, BPS. So I think that's also where sometimes there's confusion about who makes the decision, who does the work, and who pays for it. So,
Sure. So I think I can speak somewhat to that. So the property management, you may or may not know, the property management department became more involved in the management of BCYF facilities over the last, just over a year ago. And so that work has mostly focused on the standalone BCYF buildings and the standalone BCYF pools. But through that effort, we've been meeting regularly with BCYF, both to share information, to coordinate on sort of best practices, and also to share our timelines and our closures, right? Because the sort of, I guess, unfortunate irony is that in order to address some of these systematic problems, we have to close the pools in order to make the repairs that are necessary. So keeping as many pools as possible open, clean, and safe is a major priority for all three departments and for the city as a whole. And the importance of clear, honest communication and collaboration cannot be understated. So I think, that collaboration that has occurred, I believe has proved fruitful. We have seen improvements. Last summer we had more pools open than the previous summer, and we expect to continue that trend. So with that, I know we have colleagues here from the operations cabinet and also from public facilities department in the stands, but I do think we will see some improvement, and happy to take any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We've also been joined by Council Weber. Council Weber, if you'd like to have an opening statement.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I think I'll just save it for questions.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilor Flynn, would you like to start with a question?
Yeah, thank you. Again, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Eamon, Commissioner, I should say. And Commissioner, I've had many years working with you, and you've always been very responsive and professional, so I just want to acknowledge the work you've done on many issues across the city, as well as your colleague as well. So let me ask a question. You mentioned it might be several more months before we're able to reopen it. In the meantime, there's work being done. What specifically is the work that is currently being done at the Condon?
Just to clarify, at this time, the work is not being done. We have completed a lot of the work. A lot of that you've spoke to already, the acid washing, the liner replacement, power washing, seals, crack repairs, and a lot of that related work. What's happening right now is the preparation of our contracted documents to go out for advertisement for the beginning of the procurement process. After we get these out for procurement, the advertisement, we can sometimes see timelines as short as 30 days, maybe slightly extended by the holidays that are upcoming. And then after we have bid accepted, we'll be able to start moving forward with the award process to start enacting the work. From that timeline, we'll be able to work with the contractor to see what the time to repair is, coordinating with both BCYF, PMD, and making sure that we're working with the school as well and any programs that are affected on the work to be done.
So we're awaiting, is the major infrastructure improvement renovation, is it the installation of the pump? Is that the outstanding issue?
There is a pump that is part of this work as we look at the chlorine feeder pump, and then we also look at the filter system, sand, and laterals. Many different pumps and systems that are involved in this work.
And have we identified the company yet that is able to do that work?
No, we have not. We've worked with a number of different vendors that are qualified to do this work, but once we open it to the bid, we'll be inviting those companies that we've worked with in the past, and we'll also be accepting to new bidders to do this work as well.
When will that bid be open to the public for companies to bid on?
I'll have to review the timeline on the advertisement. So we should be out to advertisement. I'd have to review the exact timeline. We're hoping for within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. And then they have, what do they have, about a month to respond, or do they have a longer period of time than that?
Yes, so it's generally about 30 days to respond to the advertisement once it's out for us to accept bids. I'll have to review that timeline again with my procurement team just to make sure with the holidays there that we're getting the most qualified bidders on our contract.
Are we looking at contracts from companies that previously did work with BPS, with BCYF, and they're familiar with the process and familiar with what exactly needs to take place and how they interact with the city? Are we in the process of identifying companies, or are we just preparing the RFP?
Both. I would say all of the above are true. We've worked with Commissioner Shelton has been kind enough to share a few of the contracts that they've had in place for other water and aquatic companies that have been used in the past for chemicals, and as well as some of the repair and maintenance work that's happened. We have also been working with a vendor through subcontracting for the past year or 18 months that have allowed us to identify some other qualified bidders and make sure that they're not only going to be invited, but that the RFP is tailored towards the exact work that we need to continue to maintain these pools for this year and, willing every fiscal year remaining.
Does BCYF or BPS, do they currently have the funds available to fix the pool?
Yes, I would say that it was a little bit of a hurdle for us to identify where the funds would be coming from, but we were able to, in the recent week actually, so very new development, able to identify exactly how we are sourcing this, because the money existed, it just didn't exist in the right budget line. It was almost like having money in a savings account, but you can't access it because it's not in the checkings account.
Okay. Besides the RFP, hopefully getting a contract to do it, are there any other outstanding issues, whether they're financial, whether they're infrastructure, whether they're maintenance issues besides the RFP?
I think the answer to that is yes. We do work in partnership with BCYF and PMD on the maintenance and day-to-day operations of the majority of our pools. But as you know, we do operate a lot of our pools during the middle of the day, and we don't oftentimes have the staffing capacity within the schools existing to make sure that everyone has full access to these programs. And so we're continuing to expand on what that looks like with our teachers' unions, our paraprofessionals, our maintenance workers, and making sure that not only the pools are staffed, that they're safe and operable, but that we have a process in place to operate on all of these different fronts to provide the best services possible for all the students, staff, and the community involved.
Okay, so even if we get this maintenance done, infrastructure done, implementation, the changes, it still may not reopen, or we still have to address problems?
I would say that we will be able to successfully open the pools. I think we'll always be subject to the staffing of those pools. We'll always be subject to the availability during certain times, but we will always pay close attention to making sure that we are able to make these pools operable and usable for all of those that are able to access it.
And my final question, and I want to be respectful to my colleagues, but while the pool is closed, it's obviously off limits for everybody, especially students, that they cannot access to get into that area of the pool. That's accurate, obviously, right?
Yes.
Okay, all the doors are locked and the necessary precautions are taken that no student could get in there while the pool is under renovation.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no further questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Council Weber?
Thank you, Chair. And with your permission, I'm going to ask about some other pools.
Of course,
So I guess, can you, I've got lots of people, 2 pools out in my district, the Hennigan and the Draper pool. For the Hennigan pool, can you just, tell us the story of what's happened and what's happening, and you know, how long it's been since people have been able to use it?
So I can't speak to exactly how long it's been since people have been able to use the pool, but I do know that at some point over this previous summer, the pool was operable for a short period of time for people to access. At that pool specifically, we did face a lot of issues as it related to the filter system and the chemical feeder systems, very similar to that of the Condon pool. Since then, we've gone forward and we've done a lot of the same work that's happened at the Condon: the acid wash, the ladders, the anchors, regrouting, adding the pool liner replacement, and we are facing some of the same challenges there as well. So the Condon pool and the Hennigan pool have a lot of the same challenges. And so what we're hoping to do is, by putting out this maintenance contract for the timeline, is that the Condon pool and the Hennigan pool and some of the other pools that are facing these same challenges would restore at the same time.
Okay, and then can you just explain where the money is coming out from the budget, whether this, you know, this, could this come out of capital, could it not come out of capital, and, you know, how, who's, you know, what information you have about that?
Yes, so the money that we're going to be using to move this project forward, or this maintenance forward, is not going to be coming from the capital budget. The way that we've used the capital budget previously and currently is to make sure that it is towards upgrades, improvements, and large renovations. And so that didn't quite qualify for our means of use. In working with our CFO for BPS and working with the Office of Budget Management, I don't know, I can't say I can't. I don't actually know how they were able to source the funds, but we were able to identify how we were able to shift money into our operating in order to make sure that we can move these projects forward.
Okay, and so I just, so, but did you try to use capital and then were told that's not the right bucket to take the money out of, is that basically?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I guess just to Councillor Flynn's question, you know, in a sentence, like what do you think is the timeline for you know, getting the pool operational or usable, the Hennigan?
I would say always subject to change based upon procurement. I would best identify a late winter opening of the pool. I would say sometime around March would be my best guess.
Okay. And then, yeah, can you, because the filtration system, and maybe you don't know the answer, but like, you know, what kind of work are we talking about? Just explain it.
Yeah, so generally we work with the filter and chemical feeder systems. We're looking at generally mechanical contracts or mechanical vendors that are able to do the work. This may include things similar to what Councillor Flynn has said, where it's replacing the pumps, but a lot of times it's replacing the affected systems and making sure that the control units that are sending the chemicals to and from the pool and are reading back into a version of a building management system are reading correctly for making sure that the pH levels, chemical distribution within the pool are operating correctly. More importantly, it'd be the sand and the filter media that are not being released by the laterals into the pool, which would cause that extra sediment for a lot of them. So a lot of these repairs would happen. And then I think the hardest part for us to really understand is how deep that work goes as we look at the delivery systems on the piping and the tubing that feeds those respective areas.
Okay. And, I mean, did you ever think you'd know so much about pool maintenance?
Sometimes I wish I didn't. Yeah.
And just generally, I thought, I mean, do you know how much do you anticipate what kind of range of dollars would this take?
So we are taking a global approach to this, and so that is out of an abundance of caution and what we've seen previous. So over the last 18 months, we've spent around $3.2 million towards the pool infrastructure and making pools operable, and that is only speaking for the BPS contribution and not for the contribution of PMD. So when we did the cross comparison, working with companies like the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA and other people that are caring for their pools and figuring out what a good dollar value was, we determined for the rest of this fiscal year would be roughly $4 million in maintenance across the district to keep us in operating. We think that starting in the next fiscal year, we could see maintenance as high as $6 million annually to keep all of our pools exactly operable until we get to a point where nearly every item, every piece of equipment within that building is in a really good state of repair.
Okay, I thought so. I was thinking of the filtration system being like around $40,000, but is that
so correct? The $40,000 mark could be a good estimate. 30 days is usually as far as we get on the estimates from vendors. Sometimes we see pumps and installation of those pumps at $10,000 each. More than one, and the affected work could easily add up to 40 grand, and then would be subject to best bidder.
Okay, and then just last question about staffing. I guess what is the plan? I mean, for the Hennigan, I'm sure the Condon also, but it's people expect it to be a community resource and want to use it, during the day. And I guess what's the plan for getting staffing?
I think that would be a divided effort. So I know that our BCYF, and I don't really want to speak for them too much, but they are our pool operators. They help work with our day-to-day. They also help work with staffing lifeguards, but I think Commissioner Shelton may be best fit to speak a little bit more on the staffing after hours. Because during the day, it would be BPS staff that is operating that. And the way that we do this is we have paraprofessionals in coordination with our, usually like a swim instructor, that are operating the pool during that daytime.
Yeah, I would have to sort of gather that information and report back to you, okay. Councilor Weber. I mean, I will say that Councilor Murphy, you mentioned this earlier, but they are sort of better staffed than they had been in terms of the current positions. But we would get that. Let me get that information, and I can report back to you.
Okay, and then just on the Draper Pool, do you have any updates?
Sure. Yeah. So the Draper Pool, just to sort of give a high-level overview. So in September 2022, a contract to replace and upgrade the pool's boilers, ventilation, and filtration system was advertised. The city started that work, I believe, right around the winter of 22. So come July of 2023 is when property management became more involved with BCYF and sort of got involved with the Draper Pool project. September, we awarded a contract to repair the pool shell, tile, and install new steps, ladders, and equipment. We completed that work in January of 2024 and refilled the pool, and we're ready to reopen. Unfortunately, the pool shortly thereafter began to lose water, and we found that we needed to replace one of the tanks, one of the surge tanks for the pool. And so that work is currently underway. We just wrapped up design of a new surge tank, which would involve some demolition of the pool deck. We expect to have it open in the spring.
Okay. And just sorry, one last, thank you very much. Yeah. And the Draper Pool tale of woe, hopefully will come to an end.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have, as you probably know, we've had community meetings to really sort of be upfront and open about sort of what happened, but I will say it's sort of a cautionary tale. As we've learned more about pools and as we get involved in these projects, there is a lot of sort of deferred maintenance that has occurred over the years, and so I think that's changing and that's improving. But there are times when you start to fix one thing and you work on one thing and you find there's other problems associated with it.
Okay, so just one last
No, you're
quick
fine.
question.
Take your time.
So, is it Director Ford, Brian,
Brian is fine, but
Okay.
Chief of Operations for BPS.
Okay, Chief, so when we look at the budget for BPS, I think we'll see about $5-6 million for pool operations or maintenance. Is it going to be a separate part of the BPS budget like next year?
So we would combine that into our allocations for our BPS facilities department, but it'll also be slightly split, just because we also have some of that going towards the staffing of those pools during the day for the educational piece. If you dig deeper into those line items, you should see those allocations in place.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, Chair.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your questions. I have a few. First, I was a school teacher for over 20 years at a building that was connected to BCYF, so unless it's changed in the last couple of years, that the community center is off limits during the day. The pool is only available to the school, and that is staffed by a physical education teacher. So, the community can't use the gym during the school day, and the community can't use the pool. And hopefully, if you have a swim instructor hired at your school, it's like you mentioned, the union. It's a relationship with the union that we're only allowing school students during the day to use those facilities. So the staffing for, the community outside of the school day, and if it's afternoon swim lessons, if it's, the weekend looking forward to the summer when we have summer camps, that's lifeguards that BCYF is hiring. So I wouldn't want there to be like an assumption that during the school day, the community is like missing out on some sort of, access to the pool, because the school definitely has, not just priority, but the only ones who have access during the school day to the pools. But with that being said, a big question for me, for the Condon, but others that, kind of spent a lot of money and time on maintenance issues that were overdue and needed, but then never got to the point where it's complete, right? The Condon's an example, the Hennigan, why did we stop? Why did we not keep going? The communication letter that I saw that went out to the community, mentioned that they ran out of money, right? So maybe it's money, but why did we put so much time, investment, shutting down a resource and working on it and putting a lot of work into it and then not complete it? If there could just be some sort of explanation to what that looked like.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So when we looked at the way that our budget allocations went for the past fiscal year and the years that we're currently in, it became that pools themselves were being subbed into another contract. The work was taking away from the overall building work that we were doing. And while we did make most of these pools operable for a period of time, the additional work, the exploratory work, the unforeseen conditions came to a point where they were so high in value that they would be taking away too much cost from the existing BPS maintenance lines that were there. That's not to say that we couldn't continue to do the work, that there wasn't a budget in place, but with the vehicle that was in place with those specific contracts, we knew that we needed to do something much larger in order to make sure that we could not only bring these resources back online, but we could continue to service them for a longer period of time. And that became the difference between our existing contract that wasn't specified for pool and pool needs and pool maintenance versus the one that we're going to be putting out in the next couple of weeks.
So there was kind of a halt to work when you saw that there was a lot more work needed, and we know the specifics of certain pools, what was outstanding. How do we make that priority of which pools then got to be finished, which ones had to stop, And one thing I can say now, and we don't need this answer now, but I think it would be very helpful if we got an update of our 18 pools, because the questions in the last 3 years, and I'm planning on filing another one this coming, January, and the new term is that, a hearing early on to get an update. Like, we have these resources, we're committed as a city, we have an administration that really wants to make sure that swimming is, not just, summer programming, but swimming itself is, every child has access to it. But of our 18 pools, how many are fully open now? How many are closed because of maintenance? How many, like you mentioned, sometimes we open them, but it's a Band-Aid, and that it may need to be shut to do some additional work to make sure that they're, how long will it take for all of our 18 pools to look like the Clarity pool? Right? And I would hope that that's our goal, that as we start to see years of disinvestment in our school buildings and in our pools, that we're hoping to, get to the point where all of our pools look like the Clarity pool. I'll use that as a good example. They all should, right?
Yep.
So if we, and obviously you can't answer that right now, but I think that would be great if you could, you can talk to it now, but if we had an update so it's clear. Because oftentimes too, Brian, you talk about there's work coming, and maybe this summer, how many pools, how many community centers are we planning to shut down for HVAC this summer, but how many will also be shut down that will also get pool work done? Because as you know, it's the communication, and as counselors, we do get a lot of people calling us directly, so we definitely have to, work together, making sure we're sharing this, not just the correct information, but that we're all on the same page. And it's not to me, it's never a blame game. It's how do we work together to make sure that the community doesn't feel because sometimes then as an at-large counselor, I do see, communities start to feel like some neighborhoods are getting things that other neighborhoods aren't, but obviously based on a facilities decision, you prioritize pools probably not just for financial reasons, but for maintenance. It's smarter to do this, or you have to get this done before other work that has to happen in a building.
Yeah, no, I just very quick, I appreciate the question, and I agree with you. I think a sort of more robust conversation is probably in order. But last summer, just to sort of answer the question about last summer, so there were 11 pools open last summer, that summer of 2024, 11 of the 18. That there'll be more than that open this summer of 2025.
Okay. And I can speak very briefly on some of the prioritization that we went through on a lot of the pools and how we decided which ones were continuing to stay open versus not. And the majority of the prioritization did not relate specifically to making an order on the pools. It simply came down to the amount of work involved and how much that budget allocation came to. When we started prioritizing how we would try to look at the individual pools themselves, our priority was not to cancel any of the existing programming that was happening, and not every pool had programming. So a lot of that had after-school programs, swim team, aquatic therapy for a lot of those, and we tried to make sure that schools didn't have to cancel these programs. In some cases we were successful, in some cases we're still looking at those longer-term solutions.
Okay. And I know there can't be an exact, but I think the three of us here today would love to end this meeting knowing that there was a date. Can we hope that by spring, and when families are signing up for spring programming at their community center, will it be swimming? I know I've spoken to families in South Boston who they're driving to the Murphy, or they're going to a private swimming lesson. Or can we guarantee that in the summer, especially these community centers that also offer summer camps, when do you think we would have a firmer, a more firm answer on individual pools and community centers ready to go?
Absolutely. So In general, the BPS Facilities Department will work through all of our existing projects, including those with the summer, those with outside vendors, those that are internal, and some of our other operating capacities that may take buildings offline. We do communicate this with BCYF, as we know they have a number of different programs, pool and unpool related, that operate within our buildings. So that's in January that we start weeding out the beginning of that list and what that looks like. Now, with our RFP and the contract timeline that's coming out, with the work likely starting in March would be hopeful for us. I think that would be subject to change based upon when families are signing up, and so I would need to work a little closely with some of our peers, and we do have the bi-weekly meeting, so we'll be able to make sure to keep in close contact and get that information back to you.
I have one last question. Many neighborhoods, like we were just out in Alston Brighton with the community center there, and many neighborhoods, the BCYF is not the only pool. Like in Charlestown, there's a Y, there's, a Boys and Girls Club, but there are pockets in our city, Mattapan, Dorchester, where our BCYF pools are the only swimming option for like a large radius. Do you take that into consideration to prioritize our BCYF pools, which we have control over? Obviously, we can't control when other private pools, so that we're not seeing another summer or another year go by where certain neighborhoods are saying, there isn't a pool open at all in Dorchester, right? Or there's not one pool open for us or access, but other neighborhoods, even though it's not a city pool, but they do have close by access to other swimming options.
Yeah, no, just to answer that question, perhaps in a more general way, the collaboration has improved. And so I think between our agencies now we are meeting on a regular basis. And so to Brian's point in terms of prioritization, that's absolutely true. But we are looking at the city as a whole just to make sure that there's not any, sometimes you can't help it, but there's not any sort of large gaps that are creating a problem for a certain community. So that's an effort that has improved, and I expect it to continue to improve.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Do you have any, Councilor Flynn?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank you to Brian and Eamon for the work you're doing. I spent the time discussing the Condon pool. This time I do want to get into the Blackstone pool in the south end, also important to me. Blackstone is literally, as you guys know, it's between Cathedral, Public Housing, Villa Victoria, just down the road from Roxbury as well. A lot of young people really relied on that pool at one time. That's been closed for a long period of time. Give us the current status of the Blackstone, where we're at, and how can we ensure that we provide a swimming pool for kids of color, so that they can go to the swimming pool, like kids from West Roxbury or kids from Back Bay. They have the ability to go to nice swimming pools, but I want to make sure my constituents too have that same ability. They might live in public housing developments, they might be low income, but they deserve that same level of respect. So I want to see where we're at on the Blackstone School.
Yep. So that, for me, is a very tough question to answer. I know that the pool has been inoperable for a very long time, and I would definitely like to see it operating. When we did our assessment of that location and a few others, we found that the work that needs to happen in the Blackstone pool would involve largely an excavation of the entire pool. That leaves us in a state right now where we need to get a large capital project in order to completely overhaul that whole pool area, just because of the shell itself, all of the drain lines, and the groundwater is coming back into that pool. And though we've tried a lot of mitigating efforts in order to alleviate these problems, they were unsuccessful. So we did see that there is money in the capital budget right now for a study for the exact scope of work that we would need to get together for that pool to move forward. Unfortunately, I don't have a timeline present on what that looks like.
I think you and I, Brian, and I think you were there, but we visited the Blackstone maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and went to the pool with some of the BPS team and some of the BCYF team, and that's exactly what they told me, but it has been shut down for a long period of time. So I guess my question is, we're looking at a significant amount of money in the capital budget needed to fix that and to make significant major changes. Is that accurate?
I would say yes, that is accurate.
How much money do you think, could you estimate that? Are you talking like 20 million bucks or something, or 30 million bucks, or?
It would be very hard for me to put a number on that, and I think that's where the design study for us would pay, because I think we need to look at what's underneath that pool, what's causing the groundwater, and I think that even the unforeseen conditions that we'll get into could cause that number to change drastically, especially with the affected spaces.
Yeah, I noticed the groundwater also at the pool, but what is the reason for that? Do we know the reason?
I don't know the exact reason, but from speculation and kind of going out to the site, we expect that one of the drain lines that goes out into that area with South Boston's very high water table is cracked, and that the water that builds up from that water table is then competing with pressure and pushing back into the pool.
Okay. I also spoke to the BCYF commissioner about this as well, and to Mr. Masso as well. But in the meantime, what are we doing, or what can we do, especially this spring, for young people from Roxbury, from the South End, that need to get swimming lessons? They haven't had them. What can we do? What are we doing to ensure that there's an opportunity for them to swim? And then the other part of the question is, I'm pretty active in the disabled veterans movement across Boston, across Massachusetts, and for a lot of disabled veterans, having access to a swimming pool makes a world of a difference. And just being in the water, stretching your muscles, swimming. But for all people with disabilities, swimming is a tremendous exercise. And for a lot of persons with disabilities in and around particular areas, such as the South End or Roxbury, they don't necessarily have the means to drive to Newton to use their pool. So what are we doing in the meantime for people that really need access to a swimming pool in South End and in Roxbury?
Thank you, Council. I can speak in sort of a general way, but don't necessarily want to speak on behalf of BCYF. But what I will say is, I think the important thing to do is, between Brian and I and BCYF, it's full steam ahead on all of the existing projects to get as many pools open as possible, and then also to uplift and sort of promote the pools that are open. So, for example, in Roxbury, the Mason pool is open. We've made some recent investment in there. We've replaced lights and sort of operating it pretty well at the moment. And so I think I would try to both move full steam ahead on the existing projects and uplift the pools that are open and available to them.
The Mason is across the way from like Mass Ave, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Where Victoria Diner is off.
Yeah.
Off
Sort
that.
of, sort
okay.
of like right in the other direction, like across from the park.
The park. Yeah.
Clifford Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to that pool about a year ago at nighttime, and I saw a lot of people using it for swimming laps and getting their exercise. It was pretty well organized, and the pool looked great there. And I was glad to see people using it, but it shows you that pools are critical. But getting back to the Blackstone, that's what I want for my constituents as well. I can't have pools in some neighborhoods that are opened and they're doing very well. And then pools in low-income areas, many communities of color are next to Boston Housing Authority developments, and their pools are closed. That's a problem for me. I just can't accept that. I'm not blaming you guys. I'm not blaming anybody. But what I do want is I want it fixed, and I know we will get there on the Condon, and the Blackstone is certainly. We're talking years though, guys, aren't we? For Blackstone.
Yes, it could be years.
Are you able to work with me on a short-term and long-term plan on how we get to opening the pool, but also how we're able to help people that desperately need a pool in the South End in Roxbury?
Yes, absolutely willing to sit down and figure out how we can move forward with short and long-term situations.
Okay. Yeah, the resource. Well, let me ask you one other question. Does this also have to do with the possibility of a new Blackstone school as well? And if there's the possibility of a new Blackstone school, what impact does that have on new Blackstone pool?
I would say there was a possibility of a new Blackstone. I think there's still a possibility of a new Blackstone. We did submit it for a core program a couple of years ago, which it was denied. I think that's something that's still being discussed between the superintendent and our capital planning team to figure out what the next steps for that site might be.
And when you and I were at the Blackstone school and walking through to get to the pool, it was the most difficult process to navigate, if I remember correctly. Going upstairs, going downstairs, navigating certain hallways. It was the most difficult journey. But for students that are trying to make that too, or for anyone else coming from the school to the pool, I know they have a close connection, but certainly it was poorly designed.
Fully agree.
That's a crazy school.
So we're awaiting basically what the long-term plan is for the pool and for the school at the same time, or just the pool.
I think those are also part of those larger conversations that need to happen. If we invest in one without the other, the effects.
Okay. So if we just went forward on a pool, it would have a major impact on the school itself.
Yes.
And if we went forward on a new school, it would have a major problem on reopening eventually the pool, right? I guess.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any recommendations that your team has on what the best option is, knowing that we have difficult decisions to make?
Ideally, with the location, it would be a complete overhaul of the Blackstone, including the pool. I think that feasibility and doing the studies and having those larger conversations is what's going to get us closer to a decision on what path forward we can take.
I agree with you. I think a completely new school, a completely new pool is the best scenario. Certainly it's going to be expensive, but I do think the residents deserve it. I think they deserve a new school. I think they deserve a new pool. And even the new school, even going into the school, I was there visiting the school principal, Ms. Shepik, last month. But their library, you've noticed their library there. It's probably the smallest library almost in the middle of the hallway. And to sit down and read a book and try to concentrate is extremely difficult. But those students deserve a state-of-the-art school as well. They deserve a state-of-the-art pool as well. But again, not blaming you, because you both have been very professional and been very helpful. So, Madam Chair, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Councilor Weber?
None for me.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Unless you have any other closing statements, we don't have any public testimony.
Thank you for having us today.
No, thank you. And thank you for your partnership, collaboration. I think that this, conversation, as always, it's the beginning, but if we could work on kind of organizing that information about all our pools, because in the new year, definitely, I will be filing, a hearing to talk about all of them, but obviously no need to have it sooner. Like, we can talk directly about when you think a good time, early spring to have that hearing where we can then, because the other counselors, would like to know status of pools in their area also. So I think that would be helpful. Like we said at the beginning, it's about, working together and collaboration to make sure that our residents have what they deserve. So thank you for being here. Thank you for answering our questions. This hearing on docket 1628 is adjourned.
Thank you.